Zambia, Kenya,
So once again, I would want to take this time to most sincerely welcome you all to Nairobi and to this 39th session of the conference, one of the most important annual events of the calendar of the examination boards and stakeholders in Africa. We are excited today to host the entire Africa fraternity through the Kenya National Examination Council. I wish to thank the CEOs and our sister examination boards for your consistency and ensuring that every year we have always had representations from your institutions as we process our examinations, both as observers and also being benchmarks in what we do and what happens in your countries before we release our examinations. I would want to most sincerely acknowledge the unity among the members that is evident in the last 6 years, as I've already mentioned, that you've always been with us as we process our examinations. I would want to confirm that we've had representations from all the regions of our African examination board. So once again, thank you very much. As the Ministry of Education, we don't take this unity for granted, as it has been a pillar in ensuring that the standards of examinations in Kenya are maintained at global standards. The impact of the association in facilitating member institutions to uphold best practices in educational assessments through sharing experience is evident, and as we have also seen as a country, the reason as to why the government of Kenya was very quick in approving this particular conference to be held here in Nairobi. Ladies and gentlemen, education is a human right and a powerful driver of development. One of the keys for a successful educational system is the type of assessment, both at formative and summative levels. As we gather here today, this week, we must ask ourselves whether the educational assessments in Africa is giving us the desired results and spurs economic development. As I saw that particular program today and the list of delegates that are there, I can for sure say that we are quite impressed by the rich professional credentials indicating that we can dissect and deal with our own issues as a continent when it comes to issues examinations. It is therefore clear, once again, that we have the expertise to resolve African challenges. The institutions should create a research center that will be able to spur issues of assessment, learning, in all areas that we deal with as an African continent. I think this is so important, and I want to pray and hope that one of the resolutions that will come out of this particular conference, the 39th conference, is that we must be able, as an African continent, to create a center of excellence in research, in all issues that pertains to assessment. And as we move forward, I think as a country, we shall be available to work with you towards meeting that objective so that we can be able to continuously be at speed with what is happening both here in Africa, globally, because as already mentioned by the CEO, issues of assessment are so critical in defining how the country deals with its own issues.
Meanwhile, I am informed that you will have opportunities to visit some parts of magical Kenya. We encourage you to enjoy the tours and, if possible, extend your stay to sample even more destinations than what has been planned for. Plant at least one tree while sightseeing in Kenya. We have set the pace against climate change in Kenya. The special presidential program on accelerated restoration of forests and rangelands launched provides opportunities. This was in December 2022. Provides opportunities for the participation of youth and women in tree growing campaigns. Over the next 10 years, we will plant 15 billion trees, create 320,000 direct jobs in seedling production, tree planting and maintenance, thinning and pruning, maintenance of forest roads and fire breaks, community scouts, forest rangers, and foresters. Those in our education systems must have increased awareness that will sustain such efforts. I appreciate the Ministry of Education and the Kenya National Examination Council for the good arrangements, the sponsors, and the partners for their support in financial, technical, and technological resources that should make this conference a pleasant experience. It is now my pleasant duty to declare the 39th AEAA Conference officially open for fruitful discussions. God bless Africa and you all. Asanteni sana. It is an honor to have you congregate in Kenya for the 39th Association for Educational Assessment in Africa. More than anyone else, you need no telling how the conference has contributed in changing assessment practices in member countries for nearly 40 years now. All that remains is to appeal to member countries to institutionalize the sharing of best practices and rich learning experiences to improve assessments. I am proud to announce that Kenya, represented by the Kenya National Examination Council, apart from being a primary member of the association, has actively participated in all conferences since inception of the AEAA. Kenya has hosted 4 previous conferences in 1993, 1998, 2001, and 2011. This is the 5th conference we are glad to host. Having a bird's eye view of Kenya government activities, I confirm to this conference that key recommendations from the previous 3 conferences have laid a strong foundation for regional integration discussions. Kenya now works with most countries on comparability, complementarity, and transferability of certificates for continuity of study in Kenya. Kenya has also institutionalized the use of school-based assessments so that learning is informed by prompt assessments, feedback. The theme for this year's conference, Educational Assessment for Nurturing Every Learner's Potential, speaks to this transformation. Indeed, this theme is also timely for Kenya since we are in the midst of transiting to the new educational system of competency-based assessment, CBC. While we are faced with emerging challenges resulting from technological advancement and appropriate assessments for CBC, we look forward to best practice takeaways from this conference that will guarantee no learner is left behind on account of assessments under the CBC. Kenya has also embarked on a digital transformation that envisages the provision of digital jobs because of dwindling white-collar job opportunities. This calls for leveraging ICT in learning, teaching, and assessment. Our desire is that learners are agile and ready to embrace the needs of the 21st century workplace. We therefore hope to benefit from conference discussions on leveraging ICT in assessment. I am famous for Tusidanganyane Collab, a Kiswahili phrase cautioning Kenyans that let's not deceive one another. I reiterate it here to emphasize that no other profession demands for integrity, honesty, and ethics like the psychometricians, educators, and researchers attending this conference. You are the professionals who determine the true abilities of every learner in the education system. You determine the fate of countries whose most crucial asset is the human resource. Governments rely on products you have molded to make investments, policies, job placements, reviews, and reforms. Kwa hivyo, tusidanganyane. While discussing the sub-theme, managing the social educational effects of higher education stakes assessment to ensure equity and fairness. First, I'm so relieved to be standing in front of examiners because in the past, facing examiners was a problem. It was quite an experience. So I'm happy that I can stand here, this time not to be examined or assessed. So there's a sigh of relief in me. You know, when you talk about examiners, and this is on a lighter note, perhaps in the past, and maybe still in the present, after the police and the judges, the people you dread most are examiners and assessors. Therefore, when we stand before you in such moments, it's a sigh of relief. And equally, when one looks at the logistics that you normally have to manage to get the millions and millions of young men and women across the continent to be able to go through this very important process, then you really deserve a lot of applause and salutations. In Kenya, there are two institutions that go through some very challenging logistical processes. One is the electoral body. When it is conducting elections, the logistical task is a nightmare. Later on, the outcome is either settled in some court of law or some other way, and they say that if you didn't get it right, there was rigging. The other one is yours. I think your logistical assignment is usually bigger as assessors, because you're actually reaching out to even more people at the end of the day. And luckily, the role of the assessors and examiners has not really ended up in petitions, which means you do something right. The final thing that I want to say is factual. Before Dr. Njegere became the head of the Kenya National Examination Council, believe it or not, my first employer was the Kenya National Examination Council. After I had done my A-levels, my first job was in the famous Mitihani House, which was in the city center. And at that time, the head of the institution was called Macau. And I was employed for about 9 months, waiting to join the university. And my salary then was a cool 950 Kenya shillings per month, which at today's exchange rate would amount to $8 per month. So I have a history with you.